There's a Wingstop in Manchester?
There's a Wingstop in Manchester, and I
Why
can
did I
order
not
it to my
know that?
house.
Indeed.
How do you put your defensive player on skates? Crandall shows you how. 5-5 to Patrick Williams from behind the arc.
Oh, Jamell Anderson said, no, my brother. I got some hops as well.
Welcome back to another episode of the In the Gap podcast. I'm Geno. He's Jamell, Pat, and Pete somewhere over there. Let's get right into it. First off, I want to thank everybody again. I'm going to continue to thank everybody because we appreciate the support, the feedback, and all the love that we've been getting immensely. You know, it means a ton to us. We all stepped outside of our comfort zones to do this, and I think that continued support that we've been getting is really helping to push us to continue and to better ourselves what we're doing. So I just want to thank everybody again for that, and thanks for all the messages and all the questions that we received for our last episode with the mailbag and the Q&As that we did with that. We got a lot of engagement from that and really appreciated you guys reaching out and making yourselves available to us. With that being said, obviously there were some questions that we were unable to get to last week. As mentioned before, we will get to those when we have a chance and when we find the right avenue to do so. But we also got a ton of questions that we didn't even mention that had to do with coaching. And we felt like coaching and coaches in general was a subject that we wanted to touch on originally anyways. So we figured that we would wrap those questions and then our own topics all into one nice, beautiful, coaching-centric episode. So what we're going to do to get started? Probably not. But you know what? I'm American. My English doesn't have to be great.
Love that.
So what we're going to do, we are going to kick it off. I think we've got 4 questions that we received in the mailbag that have to do with coaching. So we're going to run through those 4 questions. And then from there, I think our best bet is just to kind of let the discussion flow. I was telling Pete and you guys that, you know, I feel like it's a topic that comes up a lot, right? In our profession, you're playing with new guys. You're in new clubs and new programs. And I feel like the topic of coaching and coaching styles and coaches you've played with always tends to come up. So I feel like the best way for us to go about this episode is to just have one of those, you know, just pretend we're in the locker room after a tough practice, or we're out at a pub after a hard week of preseason, and we're just talking about the experiences, you know? So, but we'll get to that. Let's kick it off with a couple of the Q&As. First one I've got. From a player's perspective, what is valued most from assistant coaches?
I was just thinking before we start, bro, this episode could get us all in trouble. Because, what if we say something, bro, and hey, something that our coaches are doing, bro, and something. Oh, you think I'm not doing this right?
I've never been so nervous on the podcast before.
All right. You're going to see Jamell sat on the bench for the whole game. Whole game next game, man. Jamell usually play 40 minutes. Is he hurt? Nope.
What happened to Jamell?
Funny. Listen, I will be as open and honest as I possibly can be.
And then I'll edit everything out.
I'll get Pete to delete everything I said.
Jamell's voice only comes in during the intro. Everything else is cut out.
Look, for me, right, it's such an underrated thing, yeah? Obviously, as an assistant coach, you have a lot of responsibilities. Different teams have different responsibilities for assistants. Sometimes it's film, sometimes it's defense, whatever, I don't know. But for me, something I've always talked about, I don't know if you guys agree, but just rebounding, bro. Like
100%.
I love an assistant coach that just sees you getting reps up, whether it's before a game, after a game, before training, after, whenever, and he just comes over and just rebounds. Just, you know, doesn't make a big deal of it, and just rebounds for everyone too, by the way. Not just the starting lineup, Like 1 through 12. Let me rebound. This guy's trying to get shots up. Let me help out.
Yeah.
It's just something that I've always appreciated.
I'll take it one further, and I'll say that I hate seeing an assistant coach who just sits on the side when players need rebounders. For me, that's like the worst thing. Absolute worst thing. Like,
For real.
Just don't, please don't, especially if you're not doing anything, like please just jump on the court, help me rebound.
Don't take much, bro. You can talk to me, we can have a conversation if you want. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mind, but you're watching me chase my own rebound. Like, bro.
It's like you're back out there on the playground, getting potatoes thrown at you, chasing your own ball.
Well, if you're going to bring it up, Geno, since we're not going to talk about like what's gone on this week, yeah? What the hell is going on? Bro, friggin' PTSD, yeah? I'm literally warming up for the Riders game, yeah? And this guy taps me on the shoulder and then throws this like into my lap. I'm like, this is a potato. Shout out Adam Russell. His daughter actually did this. I think they're both Riders fans.
Yeah.
It says in the gap too.
That's good.
And his daughter, Gabriella, she wanted to give it, well, I think she got stage fright, so he had to do it.
That's good.
Man, I was so focused until that point, bro. That just completely threw me. I was like, why am I holding a potato?
That's good. I wish they would have just threw it from the stands and just hoped it landed in your lap.
Right. I got PTSD. I'm waking up in the middle of the night like, oh no, potato, no.
I got a question for you on this topic because obviously you went to Gonzaga.
Yeah.
High major, D1 school. Me, I'd never really seen like the D1 assistant coach mentality till I went to Canada this summer and we had like 7 assistants and I got to get a workout before every single practice. But I assume like it was kind of similar to that at Gonzaga, and like that's something I've never experienced. What was that like, having that through college?
Yeah, we it is like at those bigger programs too. Like it's great because you have so many like student managers as well. Like team managers, guys that are not playing, but they want to be involved with sports. They want to be involved with basketball. It's a good resume builder for a lot of guys. A lot of guys go from team manager positions to a director of ops when they graduate, or then a grad assistant at a school or something like that. So it's another way for them to get their foot in the door when they're not players. But I think one thing we did really well at Gonzaga too, like those guys, there was never a doubt in their mind or in the players' minds or in anyone around the program's minds that they were part of the team. So I think that made them eager to help too, like it didn't matter and those guys would text you, 11 p.m. If you usually get late work in, they're like, hey, do you want me to meet you at the gym? Or you can text one of the managers, and we had like 5, 6. You say, hey, can we get shots up at 2 a.m. tonight? They'll be there. And then as far as the assistants too, it was really similar. Obviously, a lot of those guys have family and stuff, so maybe not the 2 a.m. ones, but a 9, 10 p.m. workout. They don't mind meeting you at the gym before practice, after practice. And one thing at Gonzaga too, and I know a lot of colleges have coaches, and they might text you and say, hey, I want you here at this time. I want to do this with you. I want to do this. Like they knew, like they recruit the kind of players, number one, and then 2, they also just get to know you. But they know that they have guys that want to be in the gym. So it was never like a coach pulling you, they know you want to be there. So then they just make themselves available for whenever you're wanting to be there and whatever you're wanting to do. And again, those big programs, they got so much money that there's 112 assistants on staff. You've got the full staff, you've got the video guy, you got director of player development, you've got an equipment, you got like all these different titles that are just basketball coaches. The guy's willing to rebound and work with you on anything. And just a quick one, funny, it might come up later just in some of the topics, but while we're on coaching, like at Gonzaga, it was the most, because again, like they know you're there for a reason. You want to get better. You have an improvement mindset. You want to be a professional. So like it's a laid back program in a sense, because the coach, like they feel like they don't have to be on you as much because it's all the players are on themselves. And so there's this thing, right? Like Coach Few or Tommy Lloyd, who's the head coach at Arizona now, would always say, like, especially when I got there, I didn't exactly know how things worked all the time. But he would say, yeah, we kind of just run on zag time around here. Like, and like, I'm like, what does that mean? So what it meant is, like, we would never have like a solid start time for anything. Like practice would always start around 3:30-ish or whatever time. But it's not like a hard 3:30, the whistle's getting blown. Sometime 3:30 would come on the clock and Coach Few's not even in the building. Like, so like, you don't know, right? But what it gave the opportunity for is, like, guys just get in and get to work. Like, you could come in at 2:00, get taped, get your shoes laced up, grab a coach, grab a couple managers, and get an hour of work in before practice even starts. You know, like, and like, they did such a good job of fostering that culture that, like, again, you don't know. Practice could start at 4:00, but if you walk in at 2:30, probably all 15 guys are going to be on the court doing something already. Like, so that was really, like, really big for me too, because that was the first time I experienced like that kind of culture thing. And I think culture is a huge role for a coach. But like I said, we'll probably get to that a little bit later. Like, since you brought it up, that was
100%.
one thing that, like, the assistants, like, were always there. And again, they don't know what time we're going to start practice at, but they've done all their film, all their prep work early in the morning, so that as guys are shuffling into the building, you can just grab a coach and say, hey, I want to work on this today. I want to work on this today. Or you can ask them, hey, coach, what do you think I need to work on for the game coming up this weekend? And they'll put you through some stuff that they feel like is relevant for the game that week.
Yeah, and I think that's the cool thing about college, man. Like, for me, even at like a small D2 school, right? Like, you don't have an excuse, because where are you? You just finished class.
Yeah.
You're on campus. Like, why would you not be in the gym? Like, where else are you going to be? It's like 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like, what else are you going to be doing, bro? So, yeah, that for me was the coolest thing about college. Like, I finished my classes, and I remember how I had really bad ankles. I had ankle injuries my whole senior year. I just go straight to the training room right after my classes. Hour in the training room, and then get ready for practice. Like, it's a beautiful thing when you've really got nothing to do, bro. Like, it's really, really a good thing.
For real. Now, got
Great
kids and
question.
stuff. I finished practice, and I'm like, I got to get home. Can't get extra reps. Got diapers to change.
I feel that one, bro. I feel that one.
That's a good one. That kind of leads us, though, Pat, into one of these next questions. It says, and I don't know that we are the best people to give answers on this topic, but it came up. So the question asks, what is the best way to make links with college coaches?
Yeah, I'm gonna step out on this one. I have no idea.
All right. Let me tell you guys what I was doing, right? Because it got a bit ridiculous. So
I was sending
and my
VHS.
dad, boy, if that would have got me recruited, you think I wouldn't have done that? Like, yo,
Hell yeah.
Whatever
I
it
would have done that
takes.
for sure. Are you crazy? No, I literally remember several nights though of me, like, my dad had this database of like all the NCAA schools, right? Every single one had them listed. I physically remember going through, like, okay, A, B, C, literally going through one by one, look them up on the internet, find coach's email address, put it into this database. Next school, go to the next one, find coach's email address, put it in the database. Boom. Me and my dad are filling out this thing so we can like send out like mass emails. Like, Geno's recruiting process was definitely very different to this, but this is what we had to do, man. Like, no one came to my practices, no one was watching me. I didn't do any sort of exposure, nothing. Like, honestly, very glad that William Jewell took a chance on me, and I think my performance paid them back. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's big time. I've heard too of like a bunch of people, especially when I was in college, because I was always pretty good with our coaching staffs. You know, that they would talk to me and walk into assistant's office. Hey, what are you doing? Watching this tape that this kid sent me. So I've definitely heard of people like doing like going the reach out route. I was a cocky bastard, so I was like, I'm not even nobody. half of the guys that text me, I'm not even texting y'all back if I don't know where your school's at. Like I was really bad at it. And I mean, it in hindsight, right? Could I have done things differently? Absolutely. Should I have? I don't know. I guess it kind of worked out a little bit. At the time, I was who I was. I was just a cocky 15, 16-year-old. Was what it was. But now, I would say probably the best way to make links, a lot like Pat said, I think for guys that want to be seen, if you're not getting the recognition, one, like focus on the basketball. Don't think that anything else you do is going to get you to school. The basketball is gonna make it happen. But then, yeah, like you're going to have to put in work. Like you have to factor in all the people your age around the globe that play basketball, that want to go to the States, that want to get school paid for, that want to play in the NCAA. And you've got to find some way to stand out from that. So I think, like sending the mass emails, even following up with personalized emails. You know, maybe if a coach sees their own first name in the email, now it stands out more than the people that did just send mass emails. Finding a way to make your video look different, like not meaning go crazy with the edits and transitions and crossfades
on it at the beginning,
but
sometimes.
But like maybe start your video with you diving on the floor for the ball or taking a charge or something. You know, like coaches don't need 15 guys to put the ball in the hoop. It sounds bad, but it's just the reality. But yeah, I don't. That's just things that I feel like if I were a coach would stand out to me. That's the only perspective I can give because I did not do myself any favors when it came to recruiting.
I would say on top of that, for like younger players in like feeder teams to the pro teams, is like speaking to the older players in there, right? I know Kanu ended up at William Jewell, and I don't know if that was a hand for you, Pat, but like you guys have all got experience and probably more links than they'll have, especially the American players coming over to the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that because I think, like you said, there's going to be guys on your teams, on the professional teams, on the older players that are going to have gone through those systems, and maybe their school doesn't have an opening, but maybe they've got assistants now that are at other schools. Maybe they've got coaches who can say, "Hey, that guy doesn't really fit what I'm looking for." But all these coaches in the NCAA know each other. They all get together at the Final Four, talk to each other. So definitely use those networks for sure.
Yeah. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Pete.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, next one. Now we get into some interesting stuff. Best coaches you've played for and why? And then it goes on to ask, how has your perspective towards coaches changed as you've progressed through your careers? So let's just start quick and easy. Best coaches you've played for and why?
I thought about this question. I have thought about it. And there's a lot of reasons why people are on this list. So obviously my first ever coach, my school coach, has to be on the list because if it wasn't for him, probably wouldn't be playing basketball right now. So shout out to my first coach.
My dad was my first coach, but I'm not putting him on the list. He wasn't the best. He wasn't that good.
You have to put him on the list. It's just out of respect.
not the best.
My youth coach, Curtis Xavier, taught me all about life, accountability, foundation of basketball. So he's got to be on the list. Obviously, Rob Paternostro took me for a large part of my professional career. Just giving me the opportunity is probably the thing that stands out in my mind with Rob. So, you know, forever thankful for that. And then Rodney Anderson, not related, but yeah, he was my Australian coach. And he kind of just put the fun back in it for me, especially at the professional level. I think I was very like serious and like everything needs to be regiment and blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of like, you can still work hard, you can still put in extra hours, but don't forget to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow's not promised. So yeah, that's definitely my list, bro. Like those guys deserve a shout out for sure.
Oh, that's dope. P, what about you? Best coaches you've played for and what made him the best?
Yeah, aside from Gareth Murray and potentially Mark Stootle, who are my current coaches, on a different level, I would say both of them. Yeah, both of them on it. I put them above.
We're not going to allow him to do this.
We're not the best to do this. Coaches I've ever played for in my life. Ever.
No
couple extra
way.
pin downs coming Pat's way next game.
Oh my
Nah, I'm
goodness.
playing.
Are we going to allow him to do this? Wow.
No, but for real,
Mark's a real one.
I got
That's
it.
a fact.
Yeah, he is a real one. I'll give him that. But my first ever coach, not my first ever coach, but my first like coach consistently was Joe Forber in a Manchester Magic setup. Joe Forber was a hell of a coach because he taught me what like my limit was in terms of hard work. Like, how do I know that I've worked hard, right? Like, we had kids when I was 14 years old, like, quit and like be scared to come to practice because we worked like that hard. Like, he showed me like that was like the limit of like, you know, this is how far you got to push yourself to be like where you want to be, right? So yeah, that was I respect him for that. Maybe not in the moment, but now I respect him for that. Yeah, I like my my next coach was my college coach. My college coach, Coach Holly, who passed away a couple of years ago now. Yeah, like I've mentioned before on the podcast, this is a guy who like loved basketball more than anyone like I've ever met in my life. Like, really like showed me how, like the obsession you have to have with the game in order to want to get up and do it every day. And yeah, I respect him for always being like around, even though, you know, things might have been difficult for him. Like, he was 70 plus when he was my college coach, right? Like, that's not normal. Like, most people retired by 60. So like, for him to be like active and energetic at 70 plus years old, to me was incredible. And still be passionate and love the game as much as he did, like, yeah, it's something I'll never forget for sure. So yeah, I think he taught me how to appreciate like every moment of basketball that I get, and never take a moment for granted, really. So yeah, probably top two who were most impactful to me right there.
After Gareth and Mark.
Yeah. Top of the list by a long way.
Come on, Geno. Your dad. And then who else?
No. Not for best. Mm-mm. And I didn't realize it either. I used to think my dad was a good coach because we won a lot of games. I used to think that when I was younger, like, we would just roll through everybody. I used to think he's a good coach. Then, like, looking back, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, are you? Like, sometimes my dad will text me about the game or something, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like,
that doesn't even make sense.
But I have the exact same problem. I have the exact same problem with my dad, bro. Like, I'm like, what do you even?
Sometimes
like,
I'm like,
what
are you even talking about? Like that doesn't even make sense. Like, what are you talking about? But
bro,
No
the funnier thing with Big Mike, bro, is like, he'll message me before a game and tell me what I need to do in the game. Like, our coach doesn't have like a whole game plan. Like, I'm like, bro,
rate it.
Come on, man. Like,
I rate it.
He's got the scouting report on the whole league. Like, he's locked.
Facts.
I like that. Best coaches I've played for.
Come on.
My favorite coach. That's a tough one.
Don't be political
favorite. No, not being political. My personal favorite, honestly.
Don't be political.
Probably favorite head coach is probably going to be, honestly, Coach Rob. Coach Rob is probably my favorite head coach I've played for. I think we were very compatible. I'll say that, and I think he gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of responsibility. You know, like, he let me put sets in. He let me help come up with you know, things we were gonna do offensively or defensively. You know, he gave me a lot of help. The freedom is kind of what I needed, like in a sense. And then, like I said, we are very compatible. We kind of got the same temper a little bit. So Coach Rob will always have my back if I was doing some dumb shit. Like where some coaches gonna be like, what the fuck you doing? Like Rob's gonna be like, no, I'm right there with you. Who are we about to smack? Like, what's up? So I like that.
This is a good podcast for Rob. I think all three of us have a lot of respect and admiration for our time playing for Rob. So,
Rob's for sure my favorite head coach. And then Brian Michelson, one of the assistants at Gonzaga, is probably like one. He's to me, I think down the line he's still pretty young. So down the line, I think he's gonna be a big name in college basketball. But just was great at working with me through anything. He's really personable. I think that's an underappreciated, overlooked skill of coaching, right? Like you've got to be able to connect, and especially depending on the level you're at, like like professional coaches, I think care about it a lot less, and it's probably a lot less important as well. But when you talk about college, high school, juniors, all these different levels of basketball where you're working with younger people, I think being able to connect is huge. And B Mike, like he knows basketball obviously like crazy. But he, is extremely personable, extremely caring. Like you can tell it's genuine care. And then also partly because of those, like he's a great recruiter. Like I don't know how any kid, high school, transfer, whatever, could talk to B Mike and be like, I don't want to go to Gonzaga. Like, so I'd say them are two. And to this day, like keeps in touch, is constantly checking in with not just me, but a bunch of guys. Like I'll be talking to people like, somebody will mention like, I was just talking to B Mike. I was like, it's crazy. He was just talking to me and he's coaching, preparing scouting reports. Like, oh, this, I'm like, yeah, that's a guy that cares, man. So I think those two things are important to me. And so that, leads those two coaches to stand out. And as coaches, I would say are my favorites. What was the second part of this question? How has your perspective towards coaches changed as your careers progress?
The older I got, the more I kind of got out of this mindset that like they're perfect. Like when I was younger, I used to think like the coaches are like these geniuses that are like never make mistakes and like you should do everything they say and like, you know what I mean? And like it was the same for officials. I used to be like, how did you not see that foul? Like you're an official, you're supposed to see everything. And the older I've got, I've realized like, these guys aren't perfect either. So having that communication with them and like talking through things and questioning things a little bit, I think has probably changed my perspective on coaches for sure. Like they're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. And at the end of the day, we're both trying to get the same result. So yeah, that's definitely my perspective now.
That's a big part of something early in my career that I was like super hesitant to do. And I'm like going through, trying to be the player that the coach wants to be, but like it not really working. Instead of like, okay, if you just sit down and why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? I kind of want to do this instead of doing this. Like that's something I never really like had until later in my career. It's very important.
For sure. Like nobody, like honestly, man, we can be doing the most simple drill in practice, and I'll purposely ask questions about the drill because I'm thinking in my head, I want to know exactly why we're doing this. But also I'm thinking there's some guys on this team, the rookies, for example, who, like you just said, they don't want to ask the question. So they just pretend like they know. And I'm like, I want to make sure that everybody here knows why we're doing this drill. Do you know what I mean? So that it then translates into the game rather than just going through the motion because people are scared to ask the question because maybe they think they're going to look dumb or the coach is going to think like they're trying to undermine them. Why? I just want to know why.
That's some real veteran stuff.
Bro, it's honestly, I think it makes such a massive impact on practice because I think the younger guys, they sit there quietly and I ask the question and get the answer and they're all thinking, oh, thank God he asked because I had no idea why we were doing that.
No, not even trying to be funny. Like that's some real like I've never even considered to like, because like y'all know me, I'm not afraid to ask a question in practice. Like I'm not afraid to speak my mind, nothing. And I feel like a lot of people that I play with like have understood that to the point where like if a guy doesn't understand something, one, half the time they assume that I know, in which case, okay, yes, I'll give you the answer. Sometimes I don't know, but like they know if they come to me and I don't know that I'm not afraid to then stop the drill and ask. But like
Right.
that's reactive versus you're like, nah, I'm just gonna ask even if nobody has like told me they need to know, just because I want to make sure everybody understands. And that's a really like
Got to.
veteran, like I said, proactive thing to do. And I've never thought to do that. Like literally, I'm just like, I'll have a guy come up to me and say that they don't understand, and I'll be like, oh, can we go through this again, or can we explain why we're doing it this way instead of this? But like I've never thought to just, you know what, I bet a few of these guys have a question. Let me just ask it because I know they're not going to ask it. Like that's some veteran stuff.
You're in a
man.
situation where you can experience or maybe your level as a player, but ask the question, man, because the thing is, you assume as well, even us, like all this experience, we assume that we know why he's telling us to take that pass away, or you know, why are we running this play like this? We assume, but sometimes when you ask, the answer's always like, oh, that's why, and then you can make a suggestion or it makes more sense to you. So yeah, pretty big on that.
No, that's smart, man. That's smart. All right, last one we've got from the from last week's mailbag. And this one's kind of it's more like leads to a discussion. It's not so much a yes or no question or anything like that, because it's got a few different parts. But the question is, what matters most for you guys as players when it comes to your coaching staff? And then just goes on to say, like, what do you want the most or the least, and what do you appreciate the most or the least? Because we just talked about it. I'll say the communication thing. Like, I really, really appreciate coaches that are open to being questioned, and are communicative,
that's big,
and personable. Like I mentioned, I think it makes the job a lot easier. Like I don't want to go into a drill sergeant situation where it's just like, hey, I say shit, you do it, we go home. You know, like I don't believe in basketball being played that way. You know, and I don't think it's like it. Not to say coaches can't be hard or can't have a set way that they want to do things, because I've played for coaches that are, you know, hard coaches. Even now, I've got a really tough coach, but I think he's also really communicative. You know, he's and I'm in a unique situation where I've been brought in as the year's already going on, but he's constantly asking me, do I have questions? When I do have questions, I feel open enough to come to him, answering all the questions. And so immediately I'm like, okay, I can do this. You know, I can work with this guy. Like I can work with this staff. They're all that way. So I'll say for me, that's what matters the most is I mean, one, like you got to know your stuff, but a lot of coaches don't get to be coaches at high levels without knowing their stuff. So after that, it's the interpersonal stuff. Like I really, really value coaches and staffs that are good with that.
When somebody's really proficient at what they do, or like high level at what they do, I find it easier to have that relationship with them in the game. Same with players. And with players, it's not even performance. Sometimes it's just effort. Like if there's a player or a coach that's just trying really hard, as long as they're not a dick, I find it quite easy to get along with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like that relationship just goes easy. So have you ever found that like when one of those two things are missing, you've struggled to like get along with the coach?
I do 100%. And I'll say why. And I don't want to say it in a way that's going to make me come off like in a bad way, but fuck it. It's my podcast. Like it's ours. I don't care. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. If nobody likes it, sorry. Right. Like for me, and again, like y'all know me, like basketball is my thing, right? Like it's my shit. Like I joked, with Tasha and my brother one day about like, you know, you hear about those like music prodigies or savants where like their brain, like regular shit's not in there, like, but music is in there. Like they can see, they can get a piece of sheet music and they're not like reading it. Like it starts playing in their head, right? Like their brain just works in music. Or guys who like are artistic as fuck and they go outside and I see a bunch of clouds and they see some crazy ass painting, right? Like my brain just works in basketball. Like that's just what it does. Like like sets, like concept, like all like basketball is just my thing. So like I've had experiences where I had coaches who I felt like, damn, do I know more than this guy? Like, am I smarter at basketball than this guy? And one coach in particular actually is the one that really comes to mind, because I genuinely like as I was playing for him, my whole experience, I'm like, I don't know that this guy is that good of a basketball coach. And this was strictly on like X's and O's, concepts, things of that nature. And then on top of it, he was like not personable at all. So I feel like that just made the entire experience like really bad for me. And like, I mean, maybe that doesn't answer your question, because that's like having both of the things that we talked about be at a low level. But I feel like it was like they would show at different times, you know, even the times where it's like, okay, he does know this concept that he's talking about, the relationship's still not there, you know? Or if there is times where he's trying to make the effort to like do the relationship, I'm like, that's cool, but you're still my head coach, and I don't think you know that much about basketball, so I don't know that I like this. Like,
yeah, but like, okay, so for me, what I'm trying to say here is, and Pat, jump in whenever you're ready, bro. It's like, if you put in the effort, it kind of makes up for the fact that maybe you're not Popovich. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's
if you're a good guy, it's like great, but if you don't know the game and we're at the professional level, I'm gonna struggle to like really get a relationship with you, because you're also affecting my job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't
100%.
I don't really know though, because I've had one specific situation where I've had a coach who is probably the smartest coach I've ever played for, and like I like situations at the end of a game, he'll come up like this. ATOs, he'll come up with like this, like super smart coach. But bro, every time I was around him, I just felt uncomfortable, and like I couldn't like you know, when you just see a coach and you just see him like walk in the gym and everyone's just energy is just like a bit like
yeah.
coach,
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm
it.
saying? Like, bro, like for me, I cannot play like that. Like, absolutely not. Like, if I'm that's why like I go out of my way like to speak with coaches on the sideline now and like to create a relationship, because I went through this situation and I was just like, bro, every time I touch the ball, I'm like uncomfortable. Like, it's like, I don't know, like
that's
he's
why I think that
just
like the
watching
relationship
over you
part
or
like,
something. Like,
is
weird.
so big.
When I look at a coach, I don't view him as like my boss. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know like he controls what the team, what we do, like blah blah blah, but I don't necessarily see the coach as like you're my boss. Like, you don't have control of what I do on the court, like in every situation. You know, you give me a framework to do what I'm supposed to do, but I do what I'm supposed to do. So you can't be my boss if that's like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how you guys view it, but I think a coach is like a peer almost. And I might get in trouble for saying that, but
your
still.
boss is your wife, mate. Your boss is your wife, yeah? All right, your coach is your coach, your GM's your GM, your boss is your wife, mate. And I don't care what you say. Yeah? That's the only boss that we have in our lives, is our wife.
100%.
Assistant manager is the children. Let's keep it real on this podcast today, okay? You know, another thing as well, language barrier, which I'm sure all three of us have experienced, I think now. Basketball is the same in every language, though. That's what I learned. When I was in Spain, I was nervous, bro. My first couple of weeks, I was like, yo, Alex does not speak English. Like, yo, the first day he said, hey, how are you? Second day, hey, how are you? I'm like, yo, 2 weeks in, I'm like, bro, do you know any other phrase? I was waiting for him to ask me about my family and, you know, like how I'm settling in. He's just, hey, how are you? I was like, what? But yo, basketball's the same in every language. Tell me I'm wrong.
100%.
No, for sure.
100%.
Tell me I'm wrong.
For sure.
He didn't have to say much, but I knew
The cuss words. The cuss
Vex.
words change. The cuss words change. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Let's just talk about experiences with riders, right? So let's talk about Coach Rob, right? This should be fun.
Ooh.
You know, as much as I want this to just be a basketball podcast, right? We kind of got to lean into the British basketball thing. Like that's kind of
No.
Hey, can I
kinda
go
have to.
first? Can I
And
go
obviously,
first,
we
please?
all have
'Cause-
that in common that we've played for Coach Rob. So yes, please take it away. Then I want to hear one of 3 decades
Bro.
worth of stories that
All
Jamell
right.
has.
We're all in practice. We're just shooting. And you know how we do. We start every practice with a minute shooting. Just regular. You're getting the shots up. Nothing special, right? But we've just lost like 2 games in a row for my first time in my rider's career. Like, and Rob stops the shooting. He's like, if you're gonna shoot, you shoot. And goes off for like 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. Bro. And then at one point he goes, oh, you guys, all you want to do is, you know, get a massage, get tape. He goes, oh, do you want to stand on the sideline and do your bands, huh? You guys want to do your bands? At that exact moment, Kimball is on the sideline stretching in a band, bro. Kimball's like doesn't know what to do. Get this band on. Yo, it killed me. It killed me, bro. That's like one of my favorite memories of being at Riders.
I think Rob like kept calling this player by his number or something. And then I started calling him by his number too. And then he was like, I think he was talking to Rob like towards the sideline. He was like, my name's blah blah blah. I was like, man, don't nobody care about your name. Like, don't nobody know your name. Like, you're not going through the scouting report saying we got to make sure we stop. No, we're saying, hey, number 13 might hit a shot or two. So until you make more than that, you're number 13. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I've used that line before. I'm not a trash talker. You guys know that. But sometimes I get pushed to the point where I have to say something. I'm not whatever. And this guy was talking super trash to me. And we were like, oh, I don't know, like 10, 15 points at this point. I just turned around and I was like, bro, I don't even know what your name is. Like, please just leave me out of this. And it's not the first time I've said it. I think I've said it 2 times and it was to the same team in a different season. So I don't know if there's just something in the water down there or what, but I'm like, bro, I don't know. You wasn't even on the scouting report and you're like really going at me right now. And I don't understand why. Like, go talk to somebody else.
I love that one. Or I love when
too
coaches
old
have
for this.
super detailed scouting reports. So then I can like, and I don't talk a lot of trash either. Like I never start the game talking trash. But once the trash talk starts going, then I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like I'm here for it. I'm just not gonna start it. Like I'll play the game with my mouth closed, and then. But I like when it's like they like okay, yeah, but you're only averaging 2.3 points a game. Like, come on.
Start reading off the stats.
Like, yeah, like.
Yeah,
come on, my guy. Like, let's be sincere. You were averaging 4 minutes before this guy got hurt. Like, let's slow down a little bit.
My favorite trash talker in the world, 100% has to be Zach Jackson. Like, some of the stuff he would say was just so smart and just so hilarious, bro. Like, oh man, cracks me up to this day. Best one. Best one I heard was like,
because it's like. Go ahead. I was just gonna say it's like not mean spirited, right? Like it's just like casual almost. Like it's like his just demeanor, the way he says stuff too. I feel like it's so demeaning to people because it's like,
yes, bro.
Does he even care enough to actually talk trash to me? Like,
exactly, bro. There was a time like we're playing Plymouth, and we've been like he was going crazy the last time we played Plymouth. And someone gets a bucket on him, starts flexing in his face, all this. And Zach just goes, Zach's just like, hey, you don't want to do that. You know what happened last time you did that, right? It's just like, oh, okay. I wish I could say the guy's name because it makes it funny.
John Wick
like,
of basketball,
you know what happened
bro.
last time?
Zach is the John Wick of basketball, bro. Just
100%.
comes in, kills everything from every position, and just leaves, bro. That man's a straight killer, bro. I'm telling you.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of the In the Gap podcast. Be sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on all our socials at In the Gap Pod, and we will see you all in the next one. Thank you.
Lovely.
There you go, Pete. Come on, man.